Hello, and welcome to another episode of Misadventures and my quest for gainful employment. I'm your host, Jenell, and I am delighted to offer you, our listeners, a little treat today. I am joined with my dear friend, Debbie Marie. Debbie Marie, would you like to greet our listeners?
Greetings, listeners.
Today is the much anticipated CyRide episode.
Now, Jenell, I have to interrupt for a moment. I know that you're really excited, and our listeners also, about the CyRide episode, and you've been keeping them waiting far too long. But do you really think it's a good idea that we record this in the street?
Look out! Whew. Glad we dodged that bullet. Well, Debbie, we are keeping it real on this podcast. I've also acquired for us these orange road cones to keep us safe while we record the podcast.
Oh, that is very comforting. I feel much safer now.
Good.
Thank you.
Your comfort and safety are important to me. I
Well,
wanted to know that.
Oh, thank you. You're such a good friend.
Most of my stories come from my brief period of time when I was employed in the City of Ames, Iowa. CyRide is a public transportation entity that is owned by the City of Ames, which Iowa State University is part of. So Iowa State University is located in Ames, Iowa. CyRide services both the City of Ames and the university. So let's go back a couple years ago. I was scrolling through Indeed, looking for a job. Hickory Park hadn't worked out so well for me. A few odd jobs. Karen Polpeka had fired me. I needed a job. So I decided to filter Indeed for only jobs that paid over $15 an hour. And the only job I found that I was potentially qualified for was a bus driver for the City of Ames, which goes by CyRide.
And let me just say that no one could be more surprised than me when I realized she wanted to drive a bus. The woman who won't even drive down Duff during lunchtime.
Deb, I have good reason not to drive down Duff. I have principles, okay? I just won't do it.
Okay, go on.
Okay. I thought to myself, well, they hire college students to be bus drivers. Why couldn't I be a bus driver? I mean, it's a learnable skill. I mean, people drive the bus all the time. Every city you go to as public transportation, people are driving the bus.
And school bus drivers.
They've all learned to do it. Why couldn't I learn to do it? So I signed up to drive for CyRide. Actually, at first, I signed up to be a school bus driver.
You did?
Because there was a $6,000 sign-on bonus.
Oh.
So I show up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to my interview, and they look and they say, wait, you've only been driving for a year and a half? You've only had your license for a year and a half? And I said, yeah, is that a problem? And they said, yes, that's a problem.
That's right.
I hadn't spent a lot of my adult life driving. I really hadn't.
Wow.
So I'd only had my driver's license a year and a half, but CyRide didn't care.
CyRide,
they
that
took
makes
me.
You feel so good.
So I'm going to share just some of the funny little glimpses of my time at CyRide, ending with what my sister said is the reason President Biden got elected.
Because your bad
CyRide driving had ripple effects no one could comprehend. CyRide, when you drive for like the City of Ames, a city job, there are a lot of like regulations and rules. There's a lot you have to know. And so I was in trainings all the time, and they were just so horrible. So I'm in this one training. It's me, two other guys, 3-hour-long training on the rights of people with disabilities to drive the bus. Like, if we don't know this, CyRide could get sued. Like, this is serious stuff. Mm-hmm. We are bored out of our brains. We're dying in this room. My boss clicks the slide, and the slide shows a woman with a service dog. He asks a question to the group. He goes, what are the 2 questions you could ask this woman as she's getting on your bus? So I look around the room. It's completely dead. The guy to my left is like asleep. The guy to my right's not saying anything. And I'm thinking, well,
Somebody's got
to answer. So I'm racking my brain, and I raised my hand, and he goes, yes. I said, well, you could ask to pet the dog. And then I said, I mean, I know you're not supposed to pet service animals, but if you were to pet it, you should probably ask permission first. So this is what my boss does. He pauses for a moment, takes in what I said, then his body convulses from the neck up, as though he had to physically shake that response out of his brain. And then he just clicked the slide, and it said, is this a service animal? And what service does it provide? And what he meant was, what are the legally protected questions you can ask? So then my response, realizing how absurd what I had just said was I start laughing hysterically. Now, when I laugh, like when I really laugh, I laugh like this. What I did was I shoved my hand over my mouth, and I'm hiding my laughter, and my head is convulsing, and my elbow is hitting the table.
Oh my gosh.
Meanwhile, this guy, my instructor is just looking at me like, just not understanding
with her.
What is wrong with you. And this is just, to me, the funniest thing that this just happened. So, of course, the first person I go tell is Debbie Marie. I tell Debbie Marie, I'm like, Deb, you'll never guess what happened at CyRide training today. And Deb, why don't you chip in your...
I said you could have asked, what's the dog's name?
So, for the record, if someone with a service animal gets on your bus, if it's up to me and Debbie Marie, it's, can I pet your dog, and what's your dog's name?
That poor guy.
I know. Yeah, he was funny. So while I was working at CyRide, listen, I just want to say I was a horrible bus driver. Right?
And you didn't really like it, did you?
I didn't. I mean, I had to wear these uniforms that didn't fit right. Everything is to the second. Like, if you literally clock in 31 seconds late, that's an oral reprimand, and you have to meet with your supervisor.
Really?
Because if you think about it, they're on atomic time. Everything is, and that comes into play into my decision I made that had the ripple effect of an atomic bomb on the universe that we'll get to.
I'm still recovering.
America's still recovering. I drove all of the student routes. Those were the least desirable routes because they were less stable. And it's all they're less stable in the sense that you don't have consistent hours. You don't have consistent hours because on break you don't work. On summers you don't work. Students just don't have a fear of death. They just don't have it.
And they always think they have the right of way.
Yes.
At Iowa State. They do.
The students at Iowa State do not have a fear of death, and they should.
Everyone should.
So I remember
because you were driving.
Because I was driving. CyRide had this they called it a rebranding, where they went from CyRide to CyRide 2.0. They tweaked the routes. They did a rebranding of CyRide. And I remember I was like, they shouldn't call it CyRide 2.0. They should call it Homicyride 2.0. And I was like, it should be Homicide 2.0 or Homicyride 2.0.
Homicyride.
Homicyride 2.0. That was definitely the theme of my bus. And I remember this one time I'm driving through campus, and I actually had the right of way. And this guy, 19-year-old on a longboard, was cruising. He had earbuds in, long hair, and he's making an arc that my bus is destined to hit if I'm continuing in my trajectory. And he just locked eyes on me. I locked eyes on him, and he just told me, I'm going. And he did.
Stop it.
And I stopped, and I thought to myself, it didn't have to end up that way. It could have ended up a different way. It could have. I was told.
I'm glad you made that decision that day.
Yeah.
I am glad.
We were faced with life and death on a daily basis.
You
with
were.
Those students. And
just driving that bus.
What I want to say is there are a lot of unstable people out there. There are a lot of unstable people out there. And, I'm just saying.
Look out. Stay out of the streets.
Stay out of the streets, people. Unless you have orange cones.
Right. And then you're all right. Oh, we didn't have to pick such a busy intersection, though.
So I'm going to share the story. I'm just going to kind of give a preface to the story. So I had a hard day at work in the winter. Driving the bus is real hard because you actually do slide. Like they teach you how to slide.
You mean when you're driving on high speeds?
Nice. I had a bad day at work and I'd like processed it with my husband and he didn't say anything back to me. He just listened. So then a couple like months later, I was just, I don't know, like kind of puffing myself up. And I said to my husband, I'm not a shitty person. Like, I'm really just not a malicious, mean person who like hurts people or uses people. I don't have malintent towards people. For no reason, I'm just saying all these like wonderful praises about myself, about like what a great person I was. And my husband just wasn't having it. And he's like, Jenell, he goes, just listen. Stop for a second. The ripple effect of what you did on CyRide on December 5th probably had more negative consequences on planet Earth than the sum total of it. And he was listing all these disasters. I was like, what are you talking about? So I was processing this story. He reminded me of what had happened and I hadn't given a second thought to it. And as I shared this story with friends, they're all like, I can't believe you did that. So I'm just going to share the story.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. Tell like it is. So okay, at CyRide, like everything is the schedule. I mean, like I said, you have atomic watches. You have to clock in exactly at the right time. Like I said, if you're 31 seconds late, that's an oral reprimand. So that rounds up to the nearest minute, you are late. Everything. And and like they have a policy, like if you're running 3 minutes late, you call dispatch. Then if you're 6 minutes late, you do this. Everything's on the radio. Well, I'm driving the bus. There is a snowstorm. There is a blizzard. We are getting students to campus and it is pure craziness. I am 23 minutes late and I couldn't be more stressed out.
Were you 23 minutes late just on your route?
Just on my route.
Okay.
Because my bus got stuck going uphill. So my bus and it was taking up 2 lanes because like I tried turning while I was trying to get up and it's the back wheels are just grinding and I'm like, dispatch, help me. And they are not helping me because everyone's routes are crazy. And for whatever reason, I just couldn't keep a level head about it.
I can see why. That's a high stress.
Instead, I'm just completely freaking out because like traffic is behind.
Melting down.
Traffic is behind me. Other buses are behind me. Other CyRide buses are behind me.
Couldn't they have helped push you up the hill?
So I'm reaching out to dispatch. Dispatch is like, get the kitty litter, put it into the back tire.
You had cat litter on your.
Give us cat litter for that. And I was just like, come on, I need some real help. This young, and I only have a busload of college students, and also the bus was completely full. I just simply remember.
Was it full?
There were 65 people on my bus. That's a pretty full bus.
That's a full load.
It's a full load.
Yeah.
And they're all college students. Well, this young, so obviously he's young.
Couldn't they help with the cat litter?
He's young. He's bright and ambitious. Says, hey, everybody, I've got an idea. Let's all get out of the bus and see if the bus can make it up the hill with all of us out of the bus. And then we'll go wait at the stop at the top of the hill. So all the students, without even me doing anything, get off the bus. I drive my bus to the top of the hill. It goes. And for whatever reason, in all of the craziness, you forgot him. I didn't like. I was 23 minutes late. Instead of just acknowledging, like, we are so far behind at this point, it doesn't matter.
Plus, there's other buses behind you seeing all this.
Yeah. And they're all full. Yeah. I just drove off and left.
And left them all. Were they waving or anything? Were they yelling?
I don't remember. But they were all college students on their way to class. So they all missed class for sure. Because I was driving them to campus. All I'm saying is I got to the top of the hill and for whatever reason I was like, sayonara. But like, to my credit, it wasn't malicious.
Oh no.
It really was. I was so flustered and overwhelmed. I just wasn't thinking clearly. I almost want to liken it to like when a guy gets aroused and I can't think clearly. Because it's like the opposite. I
know all your blood had gone
somewhere else. Like I just, I wasn't thinking clearly. And so I come home that day and I'm telling my husband, like, I just had the worst day at CyRide. And he just listens and doesn't say a word to me. And so then I tell my sister.
And did you ever get reprimanded for this?
No.
For this, you never did? Nobody ever said anything?
No.
They didn't know what to say.
No one reported me, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I might have saved somebody's life on the bus once, though. So I should share that story.
You should.
I
Let's
share
have
that story?
Let's have
But anyways,
some balance.
So I'm telling my sister, saying just like, do you know what probably happened to that boy who rallied everyone to get off the bus? She goes, I bet they ate him alive.
They probably turned on him.
She said they probably just like killed him. And then Sandra, my sister, is so creative. She was coming up with all these like ripple effects for like how what happened affected that and then affected that. And she's like, and then Biden got elected. Because she's a Republican.
Yes.
Her, like the joke is because I dropped them all off and ran away. Gas prices are $4 a gallon because of me.
That's right. We know who to blame.
This isn't even like really a funny story. But once I was driving the bus and there was this little lady got on with her walker. You know, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Just going to the post office. And then as we were driving, because this route, for whatever reason, I was driving in the city. She came up to me and said, I'm feeling dizzy, lightheaded, and nauseated. And I didn't exactly know what to do. And my shift was ending. And so I got off. So I thought maybe she's diabetic.
Yeah.
So I got orange juice and I met her at the post office because I knew that's where she was going. I had passed out
At the post office?
At the post office. So I was, and somehow like, I don't know how it was that somehow I was aware she had diabetes. But we tended to her, and then we helped her get home.
So she was okay then?
She was okay.
When she ate and drank?
When she ate and drank.
So she was diabetic.
She was diabetic and had gone low.
Well, I think that cancels out
I
all
don't
the
know.
bad
And I don't
karma.
even know if I should even put that on there because I'm not trying to like brag about myself.
Well.
It was like, it's more like she said it as I was leaving. And then I didn't make the decision in the moment to do anything, but then I did.
Then
I immediately went orange juice
Yeah.
and got, I think I was M&M's.
Where did you go?
It's like that convenience store by the post office. or
Okay,
something.
right across.
And I got orange juice and M&Ms. And then I ran back just to see if she was okay. She wasn't.
Wow.
And then but also all the people at the post office were incredibly wonderful too, and everyone was taking care of her.
But they wouldn't have had.
And then I went with her and accompanied her back home.
I think you should.
Okay.
You need to redeem yourself
Okay,
after that last
so-
story.
I did do one good thing, but
I'm sure there were many good
Yeah.
things. What about that dog, that service dog whose name would have never been known if you wouldn't have asked what it was?
so
Oh, look out, here comes a car careening. Oh, it just missed.
Debbie Marie, I gotta tell you about a problem I have.
What
You know,
is
I
it?
so respect the fact that you work on your own time, your free time ironing to make extra money. I think it's a great side hustle. I
Oh,
love
Jenell,
it.
You give me too much credit.
But my problem is when I have free time, I like to drink coffee.
Well, you are a coffee fiend.
I am a coffee fiend.
Yes, you are.
And so I don't see how I could ever give that up.
And get a part-time job and
And-
perhaps help your financial
Exactly.
needs. Well, I'm glad you brought this up because I have the solution for you.
Our
I
friends.
recently became aware of the erroneous coffee mug.
Now, what is that?
Well, you know how a nice steaming hot cup of coffee can really warm the hands
Mhm.
on a cold
Oh, yes.
winter's morning or even in afternoon or evening. And when you're ironing, you can still drink coffee. And not only can you get that coffee fix, you can use that cup, that mug with that hot coffee in it to do some ironing. You can probably get one full shirt, short sleeved, or one pair of women's pants
Mhm.
ironed per coffee cup. Per
Now,
cup of coffee, I'd
Deb,
say.
you're telling me our friends at Ironius came up with the solution?
They did.
How can
They are
I
always
get
on
mine?
the cutting edge of
Is it-
solving all of our problems you didn't even know you had.
Now, is it true that I could even iron the very shirt I'm wearing so I could drink a cup
Oh.
of coffee while wearing my bra?
Oh yeah, if you're like getting ready for work and all of a sudden you're just at the kitchen counter just enjoying that hot Joe, cup of hot Joe, You just whip that shirt off, take that coffee mug, the Ironius coffee mug, and get those creases and wrinkles right out of there. And then just put the shirt back on, finish your coffee, go to work.
Now, is it really true that right now our listeners can get one at full price and then another at 25% off if they call this number right now?
It is
515-215-5114.
That's it, ladies. Call now.